Okay, we have 9 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. If everyone would stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Pat, would you take the roll call, please?
Helen Anderson.
Here.
Scott Harding.
Here.
Bruce Horn.
Here.
Monica Hassel.
Here.
Mary Kay Jacobson.
Here.
Greg Jones.
Here.
Barbara Starr.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, there are 7 board members present, therefore we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, so we need a motion to approve the minutes of the prior board meeting from December 12th, 2024.
So move.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I'll give the across the board here.
Greg, we have Commissioner here. Would she like to speak?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Colleen? Mole? You want to have, do you have anything to say?
From the mayor?
Yeah, from the mayor. Be careful, we'll call him.
No, I can't. I'll just get back to the inauguration. Kathy went through it, and so we,
Oh, Joe's here too. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see you sneak in. I saw Colleen, I didn't see you. Colleen or Joe, whichever one are we going to speak, please come up here so everybody can hear you.
Nico Sergio, Community Club member since April of 2005. Purdue Farms has announced that they're closing. They're in Monterey. They hire, I think, about 425 employees. I was curious how many employees lived in Cumberland County and what resources do we have, Cumberland County have to help these people find another job or retrain them, or what options do they have? Thank you.
Well, that's actually a good question. I don't have the answer, but I can get that answer because that is a good question. How many are in Cumberland, and how many are across the state? And we do have a very active chamber. We have a very active economic development. So I'm sure that they're looking at that. But I will get back with you. Thanks for the question.
Joe, do you have anything you want to say? Okay. All righty. Thank you. Okay. So the across the board. We're reminded a couple weeks ago, and I guess even again this week, when we have faced some inclement weather, the need to receive important announcements regarding clubs openings, closing, and the status of club operations. The club uses our electronic notification capabilities to get important announcements out to people who have signed up for this service. If you have not signed up for this service, go on the member website and sign up, or stop by Admin 1 and we'll help you learn how to get on this service. As we continue wrapping up the 2024 financials and prepare for the annual audit, we are projecting that we will be finishing 2024 with close to break-even results for the POA operational expenses, with a slight negative variance to budgeted expectations. With that stated, we also want to provide a brief recap that is useful going forward into 2025. This past year included several milestones that ensured our continued commitment to our members, including but not limited to improving community well-being and maintaining our steady managed growth, increasing our member equity in Fairfield Glade Community Club by funding capital reserves, instituting a 10-year capital plan, and investing in amenities and services that will benefit current members and attract new guests and residents. The slight increase of $5 per month for our 2025 POA assessment is our contribution to this investment. It also should be noted that there was no increase in our sewer and sanitation assessment for 2025. The new 120 new home starts for 2024 were well above our conservative forecast of 100 new homes, which was used in the 10-year capital plan and budget process. Together with the experience and expertise of our management team, we have also improved our financial positions by working more closely with our local banking partners and investing in the future of Fairfield Glade. The Strategic Planning Committee is currently working on updating the committee charter and preparing for the March Strategic Planning Workshop. This workshop will bring the senior management team and the senior the Strategic Planning Committee together to identify key strategic initiatives and develop a roadmap recommendation for board approval. Members who would like to share comments regarding the Strategic Planning Initiative can reach out by sending email messages to the team at strategicplanning@fairfieldglade.cc. Information concerning the Strategic Planning team is also available on the Community Club website, www.fairfieldglade.cc. The Golf Performance Center, the Garage. The grand opening of the Garage took place January 6th. The Garage is up and running, and so please stop by and make your appointment for club fittings, lessons, and swing tune-ups, and any needed club repairs. The clubhouse and site work. As you can easily see, the demolition of the old clubhouse is almost complete. The food truck has been placed by the temporary pro shop, and the food truck is scheduled to be used operationally when the golf course is open. During the demolition work in the construction phase, the golf course will be open except for the month of January when we have intermittent times when it is open. Architect Vic Jones continues with the project design. We have received all the final drawings from the various construction disciplines for our review. The Druid Hill Steering Committee has held a meeting last Friday to finalize all the drawings, and the next step will be to write and distribute a request for proposal for the construction of the new clubhouse and the surrounding property. Members who would like to share additional comments regarding the Druid Hills Golf Club project can do so by sending an email to the steering committee at druidhillsprojects@fairfieldglade.cc. The architecture and engineering contractor has provided a preliminary timeline for upcoming activities, and this is for the new firehouse. And work continues to add additional detail to the building design documents. At 40% completion, invitations will be sent to general contractors for bids on the project. This is expected to occur February 3rd of this year. Food and beverage news. To keep members engaged this winter, the Food and Beverage Department is offering various programming to appeal to all our membership demographics. For the price-conscious, happy hour prices range for selected bar food options from $4 to $10. For those that want an elevated dinner, a wine dinner scheduled for February 15th at $150 per person. For Valentine's Day, a 3-course dinner is planned for $55 a person. And country night at the center, which is a barbecue buffet and a DJ, is $29 per person. And winter social at the center will be $35 per person. And we plan for March and April solo entertainers twice a month at Stonehenge. Late advertising for the New Year's Eve event, because we were unsure about the opening of Stonehenge, which is now open, of course, gave us a light attendance at our New Year's Eve dinner. There were 18 people attending. Everyone was pleased, and we'll plan better for next year. That is our January update for the across the board. Okay. Treasurer's report.
Good morning. In your packet, you have the condensed version of this with the backup. So we'll go through the numbers with you. Balance sheet review. In sewer, we have $4,531,400 total cash compared to $3,669,658 in December of 2023. The positive variance of $861,742. For the POAs and amenities, we have $5,280,480 of capital cash plus $7,446,000 $7,780 of operating cash for a total of $12,728,260 of POA and amenity cash compared to $11,794,243 in December of 2023. Again, a variance of $934,017. Statement of activities review. Sewer ended the month of December 2024 with a net surplus of $650,763 with a variance to budget of $400,028. Revenue was favorable to budget by $154,345 with sewer taps at $128K favorable to budget. Payroll and related expenses are favorable to budget by approximately $189K. Now, again, this is primarily due to identified positions that have not yet been filled in the wastewater group. Again, our utilities from a year-to-date standpoint are still favorable, and we are experiencing a small positive variance in general expenses. With the change in leadership from Sam in community maintenance, Bruce Evans will fill the role while also leading the sewer department. This will be significant savings in payroll related to the near future in 2025. POA Association, or the Property Owners Association. Net operations were negative $503K to a budgeted negative of $910,000, which results in the surplus to budget of $407,000. Community maintenance has a positive variance of approximately $399K with savings in payroll, materials, and supplies. Overall, revenue in this department was above expectations by 6%, or about $41K. Marketing was slightly down by 10% in top line revenue, which contributed to a negative variance from budget of $38K. Fire and police were within budgeted guidelines with a small positive variance of $47K, and admin experienced a flat year slightly behind budget of $3,000. I want to add here, some of these variations, one of the things to take in context is weather always and obviously affects some of these numbers. So these ups and downs are blips, and this year has been some interesting blips in our weather. So we're going to see some of that going forward. Amenities had a negative variance to budget of $500K with a net income of $340K compared to a budgeted net revenue of $841K. Food and beverage had the sharpest decline of $705,000. Food and beverage had a challenging year, missing expectations by 17%, or $658,000 on top line revenue. Loss leaders were repairs and maintenance of $44K negative and payroll of $69K, and services and fees $26K. Golf ended favorable to expectations by $21K and saw significant savings in payroll and leases. This contributed to a positive net income against 2024 budget. The center experienced a positive variance as well with $171K with an excess of top-line revenue of $48K. Let me jump back quickly to food and beverage. Yes, the numbers get your attention, negative. We're aware of that. And it should be noted that while not good, and it's worrying, it should be put in the context of budget. So the $705K shortfall was compared to the budget. The $658K negative was also compared to budget. but overall revenue compared to 2023 was 137,000 for revenue. Now, that's disturbing. We're addressing it with the 2025 budget. It's a lot tighter and a lot more realistic. But those big numbers take into account that that was against budget. The revenues, though behind, overall revenue was 137,000 shortfall. So it isn't a disaster, but we're going to fix what we've got going here in the 2025 budget. Thank you.
Okay. There will not be a general manager's report today because Bill is dealing with a family illness, so he's out of pocket for a while, and he's where he should be. And so we'll skip over the general manager's report, but if you have questions when we get to member comments, you can certainly ask. Resort report, Barb.
Good morning. Wyndham timeshare visitors for the year of 2024 were 54,501. And month-to-date, year-to-date so far for 2025, we've had 1,170 visitors. The center, as far as revenue, year-to-date of, well, this is all 2024. The center generated 165,617, which is 30%. Racket Center, 21,566, which is 5%. Dartmoor Marina, 112,984, which is 40%. St. George, 51,776, which is 25%. Golf, 698,302, which is 9%. And food, 377,973, which is 12%, for a total of Wyndham $1,428,215, which is an average of 12%. Unfortunately, we're down $114,000 from 2023. Thank you.
Okay. There's no unfinished business, so we have some guests today to talk to us. And we'll start off with Greg Hansen, who is one of our own here at Fairfield Glade and is the chairperson for the Board of Directors of the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority.
Good morning. First off, our thanks to the board for allowing us this opportunity to introduce ourselves to this forum. The Cumberland Plateau Water Authority has been in existence since 2021. It was a creation of the state legislature, passed unanimously by both houses of the legislature and signed by the governor. In 2022, both the county mayor and the city mayor made their appointments of commissioners to sit on our board. And after they were approved by the county commission and the city council respectively, we had a full board in place and began our board meetings in January of 2023. We are made up of 7 members. 3 of those represent the city of Crossville, the city water operation, city residents, and ultimately the city water customers. The other 4 members of the board represent the 4 utility districts that are outside of the Crossville city limits. Those 4 are the Catoosa utility district, which is to our north, the West Cumberland utility district in the Pleasant Hill area, South Cumberland in the Lake Tansy area, and last but not least, Crab Orchard here in the eastern part of the county. Crab Orchard is by far the largest of those 4 utility districts and is by far growing the fastest. As Greg mentioned, I am the representative from the Crab Orchard district. I am a Crab Orchard customer, and I've been a Fairfield Glade resident for the last 5 years. We're not the first water authority to be created. Dixon County, which is just west of Nashville, was created back in the early 2000s. And they have about 15 years of operating experience that has allowed them to kind of put in place the vision that the state has created for what a water authority should look like. They have consolidated all of the water operations within Dixon County. They have secured a long-term source of water by pipeline from the Cumberland River, and they are in a position now to extend their services beyond the confines of the Dixon County proper. As I mentioned, we were created in 2021, and since that time, the state has created 2 additional water authorities. And I think that is probably the trend of the future. If you look at our county as an example, we are geographically quite large, but from a population basis fairly small. We have 5 distinct utility operations, all trying to do their own thing. And the county is encouraging, as proven by the Dixon model, that the appropriate approach to managing water resources and budgeting for infrastructure is to take a regional approach. And that's what we have created here in Cumberland County. It is not Cumberland County, but the Cumberland Plateau. We are expected to take a regional approach to managing the water and to help make decisions that benefit all residents of Cumberland County and ensure a safe, cost-effective source of water going forward. So we have been meeting, as I said, since 2023. In November of 24, we made probably our best decision as a board. We hired a full-time general manager, Jeff Dyer, and we have seen over the past 2 to 3 months the momentum that can be gained by having a full-time dedicated resource in place to kind of move us along. And so that's kind of an overview of why the Water Authority exists, and I'd like to turn it over to Jeff, and he can discuss how we put the vision that the state has in mind in place and his goals and objectives for the next 12 to 24 months. So, Jeff?
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. Thank you, board. Thank you, guests. So I think it's important to start immediately and just give you the mission statement of the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority. I think it's important for the community to understand where we are, where we're going, and the needs of the future. So our mission statement at the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority: we are dedicated to being a unified voice of the Upper Cumberland region, committed to delivering reliable, sustainable water and sewer services through collaboration, innovation, community-centered solutions, and efforts to create partnerships with utilities in the region. We want to enhance the quality of life, protect our natural resources, and support the growth and well-being of our communities. So that's a snapshot of what the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority is out to do. I'm going to give you a little bit about my background. I'm not a water expert. I'm a business operations manager expert. That is my career, and it is to work with these utilities to pull them together to unite in one singular cause, and that is to find a long-term sustainable water solution for the Cumberland Plateau region. We're here at Fairfield Glade today, and that's a big part of our community. I'm from here. I was born and raised here. I've worked for some great companies here. But water is an issue, not just in Cumberland County. So the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority is focused on the Cumberland Plateau region. And that region runs from Kentucky down to Alabama. I mean, that's a large region that is suffering with the same issues that we have, and that is knowing that there are water shortage concerns. The growth, as Greg talked about, in our area has put pressure on our water system. You look at droughts that we could have come in the future, which we had some low water levels this summer from lack of rain. The water supply is a long-term issue, but we need an immediate solution. And part of finding that immediate solution was creating the Water Authority. So from a state's perspective, if you think about it from a business solution, is it better to independently in one county to have 5 utilities trying to find a solution and funding that solution themselves? Or does it make more sense for these utilities to combine efforts, work with the state, work on funding, work on solutions, and find that solution to get it going as fast as possible? Everett and I had a lot of talks about Crab Orchard Utility and its role in being the first to work towards joining the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority. And Crab Orchard Utility has signed a resolution to start the process of joining the utility, and the utility has signed a resolution to onboard the Crab Orchard Utility. So we're continuing to work with that to get some final notices out and some final agreements on what that operation looks like. But why that's important in the first step is that has helped us create relationships with the state to have discussions on solving this problem. So February 24th, myself along with other representatives from the community will be going to Nashville to talk at the state level on solutions for water. And that starts this progress because we want to get to that solution as soon as possible. Each independent utility has their own idea of what they think is the #1 water solution, but the state's going to be involved to help us with that solution because it's going to require a lot of funding to get there. At the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority, our #1 goal is to protect and work for the ratepayer. So it is to help you on that rate, to help you with water quality services and equalize rates across the region. That's one thing you see in Cumberland County is a lot of up and down on the rates in different regions of the county that you live in. So part of this process is also protecting the ratepayer. So the good news is we've continued to have conversations since November with each of the utilities in our region. There's been tremendous support from the regional utilities to work in some capacity or understand the problems that are coming for water in our region. So there's been tremendous support from the mayors, the city mayor, the county mayor, along with other utilities. So we're going to continue to have those meetings and those discussions, and I don't mind to come back periodically and update you on where we are and what's happening at the state level, the local level, and in the future could even be at the federal level. But our goal is to find that long-term water solution, sustainable long-term water solution for the Cumberland Plateau region. And think about that region can go into Morgan, Fentress County, Van Buren County, Cumberland County. And there is no regulation on the scope or the size of the authority. It's left very open that it can expand even beyond the Cumberland Plateau. It's called the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority, but it can expand beyond that region. So I look at it that there's opportunities for improvement, but united, we're there to find the solutions. So hopefully that gives you a good update. I'm open to any questions. I know Everett from Crab Orchard Utility will be speaking as well, but Crab Orchard has, as being the first onboarding, the neat thing about you guys for being customers of Crab Orchard Utility is it sets the standard for the utility. So when you look at policies, procedures, personnel, operations, it's the first on board, so we get to utilize the concepts of a great running utility as others on board to integrate those policies and procedures for smooth transition and flow throughout the Cumberland Plateau region. That's my ideas.
Nico Sergio again. A couple of questions. You kind of have a rough idea of how much water each person per day needs, so that can be calculated up pretty well. Second question is how do you figure out how much water you need in reserve for fire, to fight fire? I assume that's part of your project too. And the third thing was you mentioned you had some sewer responsibility, and I guess I don't, could you explain that a little bit? Thank you.
So I believe some of those questions, Everett, would probably be a little better to answer from the authority part on the water for the usage for fire. I know we need water, obviously, for that. So our job is for that thinking future. Today there's water and there is supply, so to fight fires or to go to each home. We're thinking beyond today, so we're talking generational solutions. So it is that long-term solution that we do know the impact of our population with the current water supply does hit a roadblock. There are issues coming, so we look at it future, forward thinking. Let's solve it now. Let's do not get to the point where there's not enough water. On the sewer side, so part of the water authority in the act also concerns water and sewer. I'm going to give you an example, and this is not saying this is fact. If the city of Crossville onboards with the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority, they have an entire sewer system that would most likely need to be part of that. The water came, the sewer would come. So within the act, the authority can manage the sewer systems as well. So it's not strictly just water. It can be water and sewer.
Jeff, if I could clarify for the Fairfield Glade residents, you have a standalone sewer operation. It is not part of Crab Orchard, so the Crab Orchard takeover would not have any impact on that. And at this point in time, I envision that the sewer operation of the Fairfield Glade would be a microphone, please.
Yeah, I'll repeat. He was saying that part of the integration with Crab Orchard utility into the water authority does not affect anything with the Fairfield Glade sewer. That's an independent operation. So it's just the water portion for Crab Orchard utility. What you would see in this instance is basically a name change on the bill. So no other major effect unless everyone wants to speak about another piece, but I mean, you're looking at operations, it's the same people. The Act protects all employees, so that's another very important piece that each of these utilities, as they onboard, the employees at each of these utilities are protected in the Act for their roles and their jobs and their pay and their benefits, and those structures are protected for employees. But what you get when these employees all come together is an amazing efficiency for economy of scale. So your operation is much more robust for projects and emergency situations, and your buying power for supplies needed for operations can be lowered. So economies of scale really fit into this for the benefit, again, to protect the ratepayer and keep water rates where there's equalized and you're not seeing these big spikes. Because we don't want to get to the point where we're buying water from off the plateau and having to pump it up here. Right, we want to figure out a real solution for this that makes the most sense and work with the state to get that solution enacted. So that's, any other questions for me? If not, I'll have Everett come up and talk to you a little bit about Crab Orchard Utility. But thank you for having us, and I look forward to coming back, and I'll continue to update you. As I get updates, I have no problem coming back and updating you on where we're at.
Well, thank the board for inviting us out this morning, and I've been remiss, I guess. I used to come to these meetings quite often and update everybody, but I slacked off on this. And this is my farewell tour, because I'm, as fast as I can get it done, I'm turning it over to Jeff. We've been a long time working on this project. I started work at the utility. The mayor asked me to go run it in 2003. And we, at that time, was working on the consolidation. The city of Crossville mayor, and you heard him, some of them at this last election complained about it. They wanted to own it all, so they wouldn't join the authority. And so over the years, we've just got a small lake over here, and it's down low right now for our water. I've got, in works, I've got a project coming from Harriman over to take care of that flat rock place over there, get a 500,000 gallons a day for it. I've got a project going with Crossville to get water from them to do us until we get all this done. But I have totally worked on it for 22 years. About 4 years ago, the city got a different mayor that was willing to work with us. So county mayor has always been willing to work with us. And so I got a guy to draft us a resolution for a private act to get this done. The two mayors and myself, we went over it and tweaked it to what we wanted to do. We wanted to take care of the customers and the employees and that. We sent it through the county commission. They had to approve it. Then we sent it to the legislature and had Speaker Sexton and Senator Bailey to carry it through there, and it passed. Of course, they make a few tweaks on it. It came back to the county commission and had to pass them again before it became act, and they started appointing the members. So it is set up good. I've told them all the time I wouldn't agree with it unless they hired a manager that I trusted with my employees and customers. We have that. I believe it's I truly believe it's the best person in the county we could have gotten. So I have total confidence in it, so we're running as fast as we can with it. I think probably within 60 days, I'll be out of a job, hopefully. But I'm going to be available for them as long as they need it. To answer a couple of your questions on fire control, we do not furnish fire control. Because if we said that, we'd be liable if it wasn't there. So it's available for what it is. They kind of got hit bad out in California because there's no place in the world. They want about 700 gallons a minute coming out of those hydrants for the fire trucks. There's no place in this world that 100 fire trucks can hook to a water line and have water. So they took kind of a bad hit on that because there's no way in a community that big you could have a fire flow for every house, you know. What we're required to do as a state, we're required to furnish each customer 2 gallons per minute at 18-pound pressure. That's enough that you can run your water and brush your teeth and cook with. That's what we're required to do. We try to keep everybody whatever they need at 40-pound pressure. And it's real complicated in this hilly region because water pressure every 3.1 feet, you go up, you lose a pound. When you go down, you gain a pound. So on these hills, we have to put regulators in to keep it from getting too high going downhill, but then have it enough to get over the next hump. So this terrain here is really a challenge to keep everybody in good water. But I'm confident that this is going to go. I've worked on it, and I am really pleased. So hopefully we'll be completely on board in 60 days with it. Did I forget any questions or anything?
Nico Sergio again. There have been several reports that water meters are freezing. Some people have put bales of straw on top, or they've been maybe putting styrofoam under the cover of their water meter, not under the ground cover of their water meter. Is there things that we can do to help alleviate having a frozen water meter? You have any ideas?
The biggest thing that will help is, and you'll hardly ever have, some people get their lids left off, they don't fit good. Here on the plateau, the frost line is 16 inches. We put all of our lines at least 3 foot in the ground. So I remember in 1982, somewhere around there, some of the main water lines froze. But they normally won't if you get below 16 inches. If you got any usage at all, and that lid's on there good, you normally won't have any problem. If it sits there with no usage going in it several days, then it might freeze. I had a lady, hers froze up, and I said, well, just leave the faucet dripping a little bit. As long as there's a little bit of usage to it, it won't freeze here. Now in Michigan and up in there, they have to go lower with it and insulate them, but normally here, we don't have any trouble. We have got, when I came in 2003, we had 5,700 customers and $900,000 and about $3.5 million in debt. Today, last month, I built 9,400 something customers. We have no debt, and we've got better than $4 million cash. So they're getting a real good utility. They can pay everybody else's debt off and have the utilities debt-free when we all get together. So I don't see how any of you will ever know the change except the name on the bill. the phone number's gonna remain the same and all that kind of stuff. And the office will be, the original office will be where our office is. I couldn't see them just because they had a board having to buy a building when they're going to inherit buildings all over the county. And I expect that they will keep a presence in each of those other communities, just paying bills and that, but there'll be a lot of things that we can do together. Like me in South Cumberland, for example, every year we pay enough together that we can have our own engineer on board. We pay enough for accountants, you know, that they can have their own accountant. They'll be getting, inheriting enough customers that they can do their own installation in installing lines and stuff like that we have to contract now. So there's just so much more that all of us working together can do than the way we're doing now. And this regional concept came about several years ago. Governor Haslam, there's, I don't know, 500 or 600 utilities across the state. And Governor Haslam had a study done. And the study came out that we need the regional concept. You know, they can't afford to give this guy a little water and this guy a little water and this guy. Plus they can't afford it. You have, in Troubleshoot Utility, has got the cheapest rate of any utility on or off the mountain, except the city of Crossville residents. They sell water to them at a pretty well cost. They're a little bit cheaper. I live outside on Crossville and mine is higher than yours. And we haven't raised rates since 2016. The board asked me last spring, I guess it was, if it's about time we raised rates, and I said, well, I don't see how we can justify them. We're clearing nearly $1 million a year and at the rate we have, so I can't justify a rate increase. So I have fewer employees. I pay my employees better than any utility, but I have fewer employees, about half the employees that a normal utility our size has. We just have the best. And so we this past year, we will gain assets at $890,000, I believe it is. Any questions?
Jerry, can you come up here, because we got people streaming, so they won't hear you if you don't come up.
Everett, sounds like you're retiring, is that right?
Well, I told him I would stay, but Jeff told me to go home. We've got a lot of stuff going that you can't.
Everett and I have had 15 years of working together. We never met, Jerry Miller, we never met. But 15 years of managing the community gardens, he's been a godsend to those gardens. And I just want to thank you for all the communication we've had and the favors you've done for us and how smooth everything worked with the water problem we once had out there. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We do. And I hope they'll continue to do that. We do a lot for the community out here. The people that work will know. If you need a meter put in somewhere, we normally don't charge the community club for it and give them every break we can. So we do all we can for the community, but that's what it is. It all belongs to the customers. It doesn't belong to us, you know, for sure. Yes, sir.
My name is Keith Robinson. I live in Fairfield Glade here, but I'm also a freelance writer for the Glade Sun, so that's why I'm here. I have a question. Maybe you already touched on this. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. This change is going to take place in about 60 days, right?
Hopefully.
Will there be any kind of a rate increase at that point for residents?
I don't see why they would. Their expenses are not going to be that much greater, but that's a thing that the board will have to look at annually to see how things are going. But if I were managing it, there wouldn't be for foreseeable future. Because, you know, it's costing us to put in line more than twice what it did 5 years ago. We could put it in. I had Hopper do most of my contracting. He would put a 6-inch line in for about $12. The line cost us more, $12 a foot. The pipe itself costs us more than that now. It's over $100,000 a mile to put in a 6-inch water line. So everything in my treatment expense down at the plant is actually last year it ran $1.79 a thousand. 4 years ago it was 79 cents or something other like that, you know. But all of our expenses have really went up tremendously on all of our products.
I'm sorry, would anyone from the Water Authority like to answer that question about rate increases? You know, you said that would be up to the authority, but I don't know if you want to address that.
Yeah.
So in regards to rates, our number one goal today is to integrate and unify the utilities. So if you looked at what's the number one goal is what I said earlier, is to find that long-term water solution and onboard utilities, which takes a lot of work. When you start integrating businesses, part of my background is mergers, acquisitions to bring businesses in. Our number one goals immediately are not how can we raise the rates. Our goal is how do we integrate these utilities together. So our mission is not anything that's nowhere on the radar for rates, that's not in the calculations. Number one is onboarding these utilities. So once Crab Orchard comes on board, it's not as difficult, but as soon as you grab the next utility, it becomes very difficult. We start integrating software systems, payroll systems. Those are priorities for us. So it's smooth transition, and then it's working with the state. And Everett made a good point that we got to keep in mind with water. If there are rate increases, you got to remember the input costs go up. So that inflation affects utilities just as much as it does individuals. So if there are rate increases in the future, it would make sense off of cost allocations because cost to produce that water has gone up. But in the immediate conversations with my board of directors, there's no conversation around rate increases immediately upon joining the water authority. It's sustainability. It's working to equalize the rates across the county versus saying, let's find an organization that can raise the rates across the county.
Yeah, I see it as probably the other ones in the county might get a little rate reduction to level it out. But then if we get them on board, then there's going to be 28,000 or so customers instead of 9,000. So, you know, it should equal out, really. I don't see why. Now, TDEC has promised us that they will help us find a big water source and help fund it. I was told that they would probably give us a grant and a loan and then forgive the loan, but they're going to be working with them on that. So it's according to what we have to invest or what they have to invest in a new water supply. If they have to, you know, if they had to build a large reservoir themselves now, $100 million, then everybody's rate would probably have to go up. But we are so lucky, I think, here on this mountain because it's a whole lot harder to get water, and we have actually lower rates than Harriman and Rockwood and them off the mountain do, even Cookville. Your rates here are cheaper than they are off the mountain. Any other questions? Got anything else? Ask Colleen, she knows it all. Thank you.
Just one closing comment, if I could. I'd like to note that our board of directors meets the first Monday of every month, 6 o'clock, at the Cumberland Regional Medical Center. We're in the conference rooms on the second floor. We would certainly welcome your attendance and your participation in this process going forward. So, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Greg, Jeff, Everett, for coming out here and giving us an update. You said that you might come back. We'll make sure you come back. So we're very glad to have you here and introduce you to the community. You may not be aware, but we stream these, so there's a lot more people that are seeing your bright faces and hearing your comments. But just for everyone's edification here, Greg Hansen does sit on our governmental relations committee. So we try to keep him updated what's going on here, and he does the same along with other members. So we try to keep working with the county and the agencies that are around here because they're very important to us. And water is a necessity. It's not a nice to have. So Everett, for all the things you've done for this community in the past years, and I hope it's not your last time coming out here, but we really do appreciate all you've done, and I know Crab Orchard, from our perspective, has been a real good partner to work with, and I'm sure that's going to continue on with the Cumberland Water Authority. So thanks again for your comments, and thanks a lot for coming out. Okay? Okay, so next thing, order of business is the environmental committee applications and appointments. We had 2 people that came to the environmental committee last week, were interviewed by the committee, and they were recommended by the whole committee. There was no dissenting votes. It was a unanimous appointment for Carl Dance and Harry Beck to fulfill 3-year terms. So that's where we are. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to appoint Carl Dance and Harry Beck to a 3-year term to the Environmental Committee.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we made those appointments. That gets us into, this is the time of year, every year, where we have a lot of what are called capital authorizations requests, CARs, because we're starting off the year and there's many things that we have to do all throughout the year. So we have a few more on tap today than we typically do. So we'll start with Bruce. You're going to do the Oak Knoll force main?
Should I just keep going? I've got quite a few of them here, so.
Yeah, I think you're going to be here a while.
Yeah. The first CAR is for engineering, design, advertising, permitting, advertising, and bidding of an Oak Knoll Force Main redirect project. The redirect project was actually started and planned in 2024. I put a car out for engineering work, and the engineering kind of fell through, and so the work, the project got grounded in '24. It's been rebudgeted for '25, and so this is a car for $36,000 from McGill Engineering out of Knoxville to do the engineering and permitting.
Okay.
Any questions?
Well, is there any questions? Okay, do I hear a motion?
Make the motion for an engineering design car for $36,000 for Oak Knoll Force Main redirect.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
The
On a
next,
roll.
the next car I have is for the walking trails budget. The 2024 budget, the walking trails committee did not spend the entire budget and have $7,000 remaining from the 2024 budget that they would like to have carried over into 2025. And so the car is for carrying over the $7,000 remaining in their budget to the 2025 walking trails budget.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I motion that we move the $7,000 into the 2025 budget for the walking trail.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Keep going.
The next car is for a new pontoon boat for Dartmoor Marina, a 22-foot boat with a custom floor plan. Dartmoor Marina replaces their pontoon boats on a regular basis to keep the fleet somewhat up and maintenance-free. And in this case, Leisure Craft gave a quote of $25,784 for the 22-foot pontoon boat for Dartmoor Marina.
Is there any discussion? Questions?
Just a question. This is a replacement, right?
This is a replacement, yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve a new pontoon boat for Dartmoor Marina for $25,784.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
The next car is for a new pontoon boat to replace an old pontoon boat at St. George Marina. This one's a 24-foot pontoon boat with a standard floor plan for $25,254, once again from Leisure Craft. Same thing, replace an old boat, keep the fleet up to date, maintenance free. So, any questions with that?
Any questions or comments?
I just want to note that these two boats, the one for Dartmoor is a 2012 model, and the one that's being replaced at St. George is a 2014. So we do keep them in a fleet a long time.
And they'll be auctioned off. If the boats will be auctioned off, so they will run ads and auction the boats off, and the revenue will go back into the POA. So.
Hey, Tom, come up here so people can hear you. I know it's a little kludgy, but we have to make sure everybody hears what you say.
You're right. So you answered the question as far as the auction. The only question that I do have is we're going to get money from them. Is this a net amount after we get the money, or where does the money go? Thank you.
Well, go ahead.
So the money here is the gross amount, because we don't know what we're going to get at auction yet, Tom. So I'm not quite sure what line item. Other revenue is where the money from the sale of the boats will go to. Where it ends up finally, I can't answer that.
Jason probably can.
That's a Jason question, but this is how much the boat is going to cost us.
So Tom, we book it as a gain or loss on the sale of disposition of equipment, or in this case, a boat.
Can you speak up a little bit, Jason?
Could you hear me? No.
Is it on?
It's on, but
You just got to be closer.
You got to get closer to the mic.
So we book it as a gain or loss on equipment. In this case, it'd be a boat. Does that answer your question?
Not really, because there's cash. I understand.
Yeah, so
Where's the cash?
cash goes back into operations
Used
for other capital. Yep.
Nico Sergio. I was curious if there have ever been any discussion on looking at like a 16-foot pontoon boat. I think there's a market for a family that wants to go out on a pontoon boat, but they don't need a watercraft that'll carry 10 people. It may only be 4 or 5 people, and for them, if I'm assuming you could do a 16-foot boat at a cheaper rate. So has there ever been any discussion about getting cheaper or shorter pontoon boats?
I'll provide my opinion on that. I'm not sure. We have two gentlemen, one over at Dartmoor and one at St. George that manage the marinas. To buy a 16-foot pontoon boat would serve the purpose of only taking one family out. Rather than a multi-use, you can put a single family on a 24-foot boat. You can't put 3 families on a 16-foot boat. So it would limit what we could do with that boat. And so it takes up slip space, and it cost us operation and maintenance on that boat, Nico. So a 24-foot boat is more economical than a 16-foot boat, even though the original capital investment is more.
And just to add on to that, the board did discuss this, well, I think about 4 or 5 years ago when we were doing this same thing. And exactly what Bruce is describing is where the conversation went. We get into a point, if you have just smaller boats, that you get limits on the number of people that you can get out there. It's better to have a larger boat with a smaller family on it than to have smaller boats that larger groups can't get on. So that was the discussion. We have talked about it, Nico, and that was the thinking in the past. And pretty much the difference in the numbers that I recall, this is going back a few years, it wasn't that great. So that's the reason why we've stuck with these size boats, because they have more flexibility.
The other thing is the marinas conduct tours, so they want the larger boats so they can have bigger groups.
Okay? All right. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the car for a new pontoon boat for St. George Marina for $25,254.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Next car, this is for refurbishing, putting a new floor and reupholstering the seats on one of the older pontoon boats at St. George. So to extend the life of the boat, based on the life cycle, they send the pontoon boats back to Leisure Craft to have a new floor put in, new carpet, and reupholster the seats. Basically bringing the boat back to new with the exception of the motor. So it extends the life of the boat and saves the community club from having to purchase or replace that boat for another 3, 4, 5 years. So that particular car is for $8,368 at Leisure Craft again. I don't know what year it is.
It's a 2020.
A 2020. Any questions other than that?
This is how we extend the life of these. That's why you hear the replacements are for boats in 2012 and 2014. We regularly refurbish the fleet before we actually get rid of it. So
is this something you do every 4 years?
Depending on the condition of the boat.
any other questions? Steve?
Steve Alou, St. George Drive. This is just kind of a recommendation. Why don't we take one of the boats we're going to be selling and change it over to like the St. George Marina Lake Patrol boat and retire that boat?
I'm sorry, what was your comment?
The St. George Marina Lake Patrol boat desperately needs retired. If we're going to sell a boat, why not keep the one that we're going to be swapping out for a new one and swapping that out to the Lake Patrol boat? Because the Lake Patrol boat, the decking rotten on it, it needs to go away. It's an eyesore. St. George.
I'll talk to Tom, Steve. I'll talk to Tom and see if that is a feasible option for one of the retired boats.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the car to refurbish the existing pontoon boat at St. George Marina for $8,368.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And the last car is to replace the pavilion.
Last one of yours.
Yes, of mine, is to replace the pavilion furniture at St. George Marina. So the community club rents that pavilion out, and the furniture they replace on a regular basis as the furniture under the pavilion gets worn out. So that car is for $21,375.
Any questions? Discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
There's a question in the crowd, Greg.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Steve Ballou again. The furniture at St. George Pavilion, it has picnic tables. I think considering most of the people that go there, we need something other than picnic tables. Something that you don't have to climb over. Just a suggestion, if we're going to be doing this, we need to get something that's more usable by our current clientele.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the car for the pavilion furniture at St. George Marina for $21,375.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You can sit down.
Thank you.
That's what happens when you get a new job. You get to come before the board a lot more times. Thanks a lot, Bruce. Okay, golf equipment. This is a typical one that we do every year. What this is a list of equipment that the golf courses buy, mowers, pickers, things like that. And we do this at the beginning of the year because this stuff, especially since COVID, has gotten very dicey when you can get it. So we give the authority to the golf department so that when they see one of these things become available, we can get it. Most of the equipment that we buy are coming off leases. And so what's happened since COVID is that people are holding on to those pieces of equipment longer, not less. And as a result of that, if we wait even 2 or 3 weeks, when something becomes available, we'll lose it. So this is why we do this. This is done every year, and then we always have a true up at the end of the year about what was bought, what wasn't bought. There's a whole schedule behind it, so there's all the equipment's listed. But that's what we're doing here. So, any questions? All right. Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve golf equipment for 2025 in the amount of $495,000.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Kate?
Sorry, we had a typo. So this is a request for the purchase of 2 2025 Ford Explorers that are all-wheel drive for the rotation of our fleet. These were bidded through Lonnie Cobb on the state contract, which is very discounted. And these vehicles are 90% outfitted with patrol equipment, which is very nice for us because they just come almost key ready. All we need is striping, radios, and radars, and they will be 100% complete. So the total cost is $111,598.
Any questions?
Greg
Oh,
knows
yeah.
it's a mistype on the sheet. It's supposed to be 111,598.
Yeah. Okay.
My apologies.
So I know originally when the capital was brought to the board, it was $55,000 per vehicle. There was an additional cost of $799 per vehicle, and that was for some of the additional equipment. That included a half cage and then also the computer mount system.
Okay, these 2 vehicles are to replace 2 existing vehicles?
Yes. So we have one vehicle that it was going to replace it's from 2015, and the other one is from 2014. Unfortunately, our 2015 vehicle looks like it's in better place than one of our 2020 vehicles, but that's something that we're working through with our labor maintenance crew. And these Ford Explorers, we consulted with them, and this is the brand and model that they prefer to work on. So moving forward, we're hoping to keep this and also exchange out our fleet to be at least one make, which would be Ford.
This is a regular schedule we do.
Yes.
And Kate and before her, even Mike, both were very judicious in trying to find, and actually not trying to find, but getting used vehicles. That's why they're even priced the way they are. Again, these vehicles are very difficult to come by, and they do a lot of research before they can come in and even get the vehicle, mainly because, again, you have the situation, these are ones that other police departments are turning in. We try to get ones that are kind of administrative in nature, so they're not have a whole lot of miles on them. But this also, I should say, for those that didn't know, this became a real recruiting issue for us in getting police department personnel, because what we found out when we went out to take a look at other departments, every officer had their own car. And what we were doing was sharing cars, so people would have to wait on their shifts until the other person showed up. It was very inefficient. It was, and we were finding that that it was difficult to get police officers here because of things like that. So this is one of the things the board took on about 3 years ago, and we've been doing this on a scheduled basis every year. So you'll see these every year. There'll be 1, 2, 3 of these cars that'll come up. I'm sorry, Kate.
No, you're okay. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, as to go on to the Greg, the take-home car vehicle program, which it is a privilege program, That also helps us with recruitment and retention, but also it lowers the cost on maintenance and rotation of the vehicles by them being assigned to one person only. So we saw a reduction in maintenance costs as well.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move that we replace 2 of the police vehicles with 2 new Ford Explorers for $111,598.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you very much, Kate.
Thank you.
We're down to that point where we have comments from the floor. Come on up, Colleen. Well, Ted, we'll have you follow Colleen, okay? No, still.
I'm Colleen Mall, your 9th District Commissioner. I have an answer, Sergio. Yes, in the largest employee base in Purdue was 256 people, which is 58%. Cumberland County had the next, which was 62, which is 14%. And Ethan Hadley, our chamber, says they are working actively with state and industry within Cumberland and within the state for outplacement for these individuals. So there's your answer. Thank you for that question.
Okay. All right, Ted.
Ted Landers. I have 2 things. The first is, ignoring the budget dollars for food and beverage, did we actually do more sales or less sales in 24 versus 23?
I think we have. Go ahead, Bruce. Or guys, once you have one of you have the.
I'm pulling it up.
And while he's looking that up, yesterday when I was here, there was a discussion about the Clarent and the Fairfield Glade Club doing the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Was that voted on yesterday?
No, that was voted on in December.
Voted in December.
Right.
Okay. All right. That answers that. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll have a seat while he's doing it. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, you just interrupt.
We'll cue
Okay,
him
Jerry.
up.
Jerry Miller. Greg, can you tell me what the position of the board is on the stables?
I can tell you where we are, okay? We had, Bill is dealing with family illness, as I said before. We had set up a meeting with one of the people that's interested in taking over the stables. It was supposed to be 2 weeks ago. That day it snowed. We couldn't go to where the meeting was going to be, so we canceled that one. We set it up again for another 2 days later. And at that point, the people that we're going to see were all sick. So we had to cancel it at their request that time. I know Bill has talked to at least 2 others that are interested. We haven't set up meetings with those because what Bill's dealing with now came up, and that was more important than setting up these meetings. So our intention is still to have the meetings. I can't tell you when because I got to wait until we get Bill back, but he and I will be meeting with people as we can.
Okay, my question is, what is the position of the board? Is the board now saying the position, we're going to operate the stables?
No, we haven't said anything. We just said that we're meeting with these people. We have to see their business plan, Jerry. We don't know what they're going to tell us. We haven't gotten into a conversation about what they expect from the community club, and we haven't heard from them what our expecting or what they're going to plan to do. So until that happens, there won't be a position.
So at least you're willing to operate the stables?
What we're willing to do is talk to people and find out what the answers are. You're not going to get us to say yes or no on this question until we have the information.
Well, it'd be nice if the community knew what the position of this board was. That's the
Well,
point.
it would be nice to know what people are going to say they would do in terms of running the stables. So we need to find that out first, Jerry, before the conversation can happen about whether or not we think that's a good idea or a bad idea.
All right. In your interviews, are you utilizing any of the stables' expertise in helping you through that process that knows the stables knows the equine business? Are you using the talents we have to help you through that process?
We're ways off from what we will do. We're just having initial meetings with them now so that they can see the property, they can understand what the property is, and we can understand what their interest is.
But wouldn't it be nice to have those people along with you?
We'll get into all of that at a later point once we hear what people have to say, Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Flanders? Ted, we did less this year than we did in '23 by about 3%.
That's how many dollars?
About 137,000.
That's 137.
Okay.
I'm chuckling at food and beverage because it's on the report that we get, but
Yeah.
it's complicated. Yesterday, Tom Ratcliffe, yesterday I came up, and so just for the members in the audience, again, I want to thank staff, the department heads, and the board for the excellent work on the budget, and specifically what I'm talking about is the projections for 2024. We ended fairly close to those projections, which, if you go back in time, is kind of a record. If you compare the budget meeting November to where we actually finish. So thank you for that. I mentioned yesterday, I asked the question about accountability for food and beverage. And I did it for a reason, and the reason was, as we started the year, members, myself, other members, were asking about the results on a monthly basis. And the answers ranged from things like, it's too early in the year, to it's Bobby Jones, they haven't said anything, to now we have a general manager that'll be dealing with them, they didn't have a director, on and on and on. And then we came down to the wire, and we found out that we had bad budget. It was a terrible budget, and that's one of the reasons we were off. And I asked the question about accountability, and I'm not going to go through that. But one of the things when we ask these questions in the meeting, or I do specifically, Greg gives the opportunity on the finance piece for the board to ask questions of Jason and Bruce on financial questions. A lot of those times, there's no questions asked by the board. Comes from the members. Now, I'm led to believe that really a lot of those questions and so forth take place in executive session. That's where the dialogue happens. That's where a lot of the information is. Stuff we do not see and should see. So as we begin the new year, I'm going to go back again.
Hey, Tom, do you mind if I answer that? I know for me personally, I've had a few questions. I'm new to the board. And we, as soon as we see the paperwork come out, we'll send a question. And most of my questions have more to do with me coming up the curve here than something I can't find.
Thank you, but where I'm coming from is that discussion and the data you guys get and so forth, it'd be helpful if that was more public. And where I'm going with my point as we begin the new year, I'm just going to quote the bill, but I'm not saying it applies to us. But again, I go back to Senate Bill 405. And in that bill, it's got a specific provision. Again, I want to comment. I know it doesn't apply to us. But in that bill, it talks about, and it says, quote, an executive session may be held, A, consult with association's attorney concerning legal matters. B, discuss existing and potential litigation, mediation, arbitration, or administrative procedures. C, discuss labor or personnel matters. D, discuss contracts, leases, and other commercial transactions to purchase or provide goods or services currently being negotiated, including the review of bids or proposals if premature general knowledge of these matters would place the association at a disadvantage, or E, prevent public knowledge of the matter to be discussed if the executive board or committee determines that public knowledge would violate the privacy of any person. That's what executive sessions are designed to be. I see where our board takes greater latitude. So I asked, number one, for our board to reconsider what they do in executive session and to open it up more for us. And my question to Kenneth is, can you tell us as members within our bylaws or CNRs specifically where the power of executive session lies in those bylaws and to what extent the board has the leeway in those? Thank you.
I don't know if you want to respond to that or not.
The board has the power under the Nonprofit Act, the statutes, to meet in executive session. The bylaws have nothing to do with it. Yeah, and that statute doesn't apply like you said, but it doesn't. And I would also state that the board does not take greater latitude. The board operates within the confines of the applicable statutes to the board. So it's not exceeding or doing anything beyond the power that it has. And it's fully within its rights to meet in private. It's fully within its rights to have whatever discussions it needs to have. And I'll be frank with you, I represent a lot of boards. This is one of the most transparent nonprofit boards that I work with. I mean, they go above and beyond. So I don't think they're hiding anything from you. I think they're trying in every way to get the information out to you for what they need. And they have the power to meet as they are meeting, and they are not violating any statutes or laws in doing so. Thank you.
Okay. Phil?
Thank you. My name is Phil Smith. I live in Hickory Ridge, 144 Hickory Ridge Lane. I've been a resident here since 2009. And I'm here this morning because of two things. One is I'm president of the Veterans and First Responders Memorial in Fairfield Glade. I want to give an update on that. And second, I'm a board member of the Volunteer Energy Cooperative for representing Cumberland County East. Cumberland County has 2 board members on that. There are 12 board members altogether. It serves a 17-county area. So we're the largest geographic and populous area within that 17-county region. First, on the Veterans and First Responders Memorial, we are issuing today, it should be up on our website, our annual report from 2024, which covers our accomplishments and challenges during that year, and then looks ahead to 2025 and what our plans are there. I'm pleased to report that we are ready to put the pavers down. You know, a lot of people, we sold about 900 pavers for first responders and veterans. And the Flag Plaza, which is a part of that, will have these pavers. And we have them on, not on site, but we have them. They're actually stored down at Crab Orchard Utility District. And we have a contractor lined up that's going to start as soon as the weather permits. And the goal is that we will have those installed by the 1st of March. So that'll be a big thing. And once that happens, things are going to start happening pretty fast. The next thing will be to install the Crab Orchard stone on the brick walls that are down there now, or the block walls that are there. And then once that's in, then we will be ready to put up the flagpoles. Following that, we will do, we've got all the electrical conduit work done. We've got all the irrigation work done, all the drainage, all that stuff is done. So then we will go from there to installing the lights, the electricity, and so it's going to move pretty fast. We have people, individual contractors that are lined up, ready to do all that work. That's been a problem, finding suitable contractors, trying to do it in an affordable way. We are, and I want to emphasize this, we are a nonprofit organization. We are raising the money privately. We're not asking the club to contribute anything to it other than the land that has been leased to us. And so we're working on that. So I'm hopeful that this is the year that you'll see a lot of activity. The second part of that is that we have worked out an agreement with our architect that to start the detailed planning for the second phase, which is, we're calling it the Memorial Garden. That will include a pavilion and some other block walls and pedestals that will be used to display various plaques, tell the story about what the memorial is all about. So we're pleased about that. So I think you will see some significant progress this year, and we're thankful for that. I do want to mention while I'm here, Everett Bolin is on our board. Everett's been he's the vice president of the board. He's been a great help to us, and we couldn't be this far if it weren't for his assistant. Colleen Mall is a board member also. She's an Army veteran, and you all know that. I think you should. And then Kate Self, our chief of police, is on the board. Kurt McLaughlin, who's not here today, but he's also on our board, and he's the chief of the fire department. So we're getting a lot, but you know, this is a county-wide effort, and we're getting a lot of support through the county. So I would encourage you, to go to our website. It's VFRmemorial.com, Veterans First Responders Memorial, and we'll have our report up there and a lot of other information. The second thing I want to just talk about for a minute is Volunteer Energy Cooperative. And we had a challenge this week, the cold weather. As you recall from a year ago or so, that there was a period of rolling blackouts there. And that was due primarily to TVA's ordering all their distributors to do mandatory shutdowns. So what we did, what TVA has done since that time, what we've done since that time, is in order to avoid this, that a lot of upgrades have been made. TVA's made a lot of upgrades. They've made a lot of changes in their policy. They were able to, this time when we got the warning of the the record usage, and it was a record usage, by the way, even more so than it was a year ago. They had provisions to bring more electricity in, and that, this whole thing is dependent on two things. One is generation, and the other is distribution. We're the distribution part. We don't generate. So one thing, too, that we're doing, the BC has been doing in the past years, of doing a lot of upgrades. The board passed a plan a year ago, $250 million worth of improvements in the distribution network over a 5-year period. That covers 17 counties, but a lot of that's going to happen here in Cumberland County. Some of it's already happened in Fairfield Glade. Those of you who may have noticed on Catoosa, there's been a lot of work on that all summer long. Those are upgrades that were part of that plan. So we are emphasizing reliability. That's the first priority of the co-op right now, above everything else. And you'll see that reflected. But we were successful in avoiding any rolling blackouts or this time, and we're optimistic about our ability to deal with that in the future. One of the things that was helpful is that when people responded by a voluntary curtailment, I think some of those of you that were on Facebook or saw some kind of a notice about that, there's 6 levels that when you go into a curtailment program, and we were in the second level, which is asking volunteers to do it. If it ever gets to the 6th one, we're in trouble. We've never been there. Last year, we were at the 5th one, where that you're ordered to do rolling blackouts. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for their participation in that. We're going to continue to work closely with Fairfield Glade, and we know that growing in the future is going to rely on infrastructure. We're going to be a part of that. We've been a part of that with the Government Affairs Committee. We're looking at that, and just appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk to you. Thank you.
As I would note it also with Greg, Phil does sit on our governmental relations committee, so we do talk about infrastructure things and that type of thing all the time. And he's been a very willing participant in making sure that we hear what's going on with VEC and that type of thing as well. And we'll get a lot more into the infrastructure things going down the road. I know it's a big issue for a lot of people, or their thoughts are anyway, and we'll make sure the appropriate people come in and talk about that from time to time.
Good morning. My name is Heather Ostrander, and I live on Hedgewood Point. My question, first of all, thank you all for what you do. Thank you for serving. I do appreciate everything that you do. I don't mean to be a pain in the neck, but I have a question about our sanitation pickup. We're growing at a rapid rate in this community. Do we have plans to add more vehicles to accommodate that growth?
Is Bruce still here? Yeah.
The monthly sanitation fee right now, a portion of that goes into capital as a truck replacement addition to the fleet. So there are plans to purchase a new truck, whether it replaces an older truck or whether it adds to the fleet. I can't say for sure yet, but there is money being stashed in capital for that.
Okay, well, because when we have a situation where we don't get pickup for whatever reason, weather was this past week, there doesn't seem to be the ability to make up that pickup. You know, I'd hate to be on the schedule for Monday pickups because those folks frequently don't get any pickup because it's a holiday or whatever other reason, but they don't get, and they're told there won't be a rescheduling of that pickup. So I'm wondering if we're going to do anything to make up for the days when there isn't a pickup. In other words, more.
Well, this is probably premature, but I've been discussing with Bill Hoddle a potential, at least short-term solution to this. And the extreme cold this week, we canceled both Monday and Tuesday. It was unsafe for the employees to be on the back of the truck. The roads were perfectly clear for the truck to get down, and so Bill and I are coming up with a plan to have a drop-off point. So the residents will be able to take their bags of garbage up to the drop-off point. We'll have the trash truck there. We'll throw them in the back of the trash truck and then run them to the dump, so you don't have to drive all the way to Piedmont. That's in the works right now. We haven't ironed out all the details yet, the hours that you'll be able to drop off or whatever, but in lieu of driving all the way to Piedmont, the transfer station on Piedmont, we're going to have a common drop-off point on Maintenance Boulevard.
Okay, you know what the cold weather alert says to those of us who are from the far north. Because I've never incurred trash not being picked up because of weather. But I just wondered if are we planning, I mean, the expansion that we are facing here is significant. And I'm hoping that we are planning to add more to the fleet in order to not only accommodate those folks, because we're getting messages about, you know, be careful with the trash that you are putting out, but also we need to be able to make up for those days when you can't pick up for whatever reason, holidays being one of them. And we've got a lot of seniors who, you know, for them, throwing the stuff in the back of the car and driving over to drop it off on Peavine or even any collection point isn't necessarily something that's convenient for them. That's it. Okay. Thanks.
And Bruce, I just had sort of a question along with that. Sure. If we have any data, and I haven't seen it, but for the amount of trash over time, because I know my neighborhood's not a microcosm of everything, but in my neighborhood, it's gotten very low on trash, probably because most of the people recycle or have somebody pick up their recycling, and just wondered, you know, that may be a way to counterbalance issues with trash.
I know there's been a discussion in the past about having a recycling drop-off point, drop-off recyclables, glass, plastic, cardboard. I don't know where that is right now. I can do some research and try to find out all of that good stuff. And I don't know how many tons. I guess they measure in tons per day that Fairfield contributes to the transfer station. So all of those records are available. I just don't have them right now. So I'll get them for you.
I might add that the board is very aware about the growth, and we do look at that, and we will continue to look at that every year. It's more than just trash. It's every service that we provide. It's every amenity that we provide. It's every service that's provided as a member to you. So we have to look at all of that. And yes, you know, if you were here at last month's meeting, we talked a little bit about, in terms of this agreement that we signed with the developer, about, you know, land use. And that's a big item. And we have to, we need to take some serious looks at that. We try to look at it every year in the budget, but we're going to have to get a lot more serious. It's part of our strategic plan. We will be looking at initiatives under that starting in March. So it's on our radar screen, and you know, it's going to have to be managed growth. So that's what we're looking at. Okay. Go ahead, Tom.
The follow-up on the recycle and for the board, maybe in the government relations portion, discussing with the county and the mayor, we talk a lot about recycling and the resource center up the street, but when you use it and you go over there and you can't drop your glass off because it's full and they haven't picked it up like it's supposed to be weekly, or the cardboard's full, or the trash is full, and you've made that trip up there at our recommendation and so forth, it becomes frustrating, and it is happening quite a bit, and especially if you consider when it happens now, and most of our members are not most, a lot of our members are not here, you can only imagine what it's like in the summer months.
Well, we have actually talked to the mayor about that. One of the problems that we have with the recycling center down there is it's land bound. The county doesn't own a lot more land around that, so they can't expand it. Now, that doesn't answer the full question, and I know, and we'll make sure we talk about it again with Mayor Foster, because I experienced the same thing. So we'll talk to him about it, but I don't know, I can't answer the question right now, but I do know we talked about the expansion of the one down there, and that's not a possibility. Okay? Any other member comments? Any member or any board member comments?
Yeah, I've got a comment, Greg.
Okay.
I hope everybody knows, and I think everybody knows, this is at least the second time that Bruce Evans has delayed his retirement for us. His expertise, his experience with the sewer system has been very difficult to replace. And I just want to publicly thank Bruce for stepping up and delaying again, and not just taking care of the sewer, but stepping up and taking additional responsibilities with Sam's departure. So thank you, Bruce, very much. Appreciate it.
One other thing I was just going to kind of go over very quickly, because we've been reporting on it every month, is the amenity reserve fee and what our year-end closes look like for homes. And because there was a lot of comments around June when we put this in, that this was going to dry up our market, people wouldn't be buying new homes, people wouldn't be building new homes. And I'm just looking at the differences between July of 2023, when we instituted this, and through December of 23 compared to July of 24 to the end of 24. So we're looking at the same time frames when the amenity fee was increased. In that time frame, in terms of homes under construction, it's gone up plus 43 homes from 24 over 2023. In terms of the A-tier lots, those have gone up by 35. Bs have gone up by 9, and I'm sorry, 5, and Cs have gone up by 9 of people buying these things. So at least anyway, from July of 23 through December of 23, compared to July 24 to December 24, what people thought was going to be happening hasn't happened. We are actually higher. And I would also point out, you know, if you take a look at our year-end close for housing under construction, I have that here somewhere. Well, I won't get into that, but it's over 100.
124.
Yeah, 124. So the point is that the better we do on that and the more that comes in, this affects our capital plan as well, because that money goes into amenity reserves to be used for amenities in our capital planning. So being ahead of the game on this is a good thing for us. And that's what we've been experiencing so far. Now, we're going to continue to watch it during the spring. I'd like to get one whole year of a comparison so we can look at it, and then we can look on a more regular or irregular basis, like once a quarter or something like that. But right now, we're trying to track it every month so we can actually see the ups and downs and see how we're doing overall. Okay? Anything else?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have 2 policies.
Oh, my goodness, yes, we did.
Speaking of amenity reserve fee, I, myself and Bruce Knox sit on the board lot committee, and we review the sales, the lot mergers, transfers, anything that's involved with lots coming back to the club or the lot sales of clubs-owned lots. In doing some policy cleanup to make sure that we have clear operating policies, we found that in talking to the staff, we need a revision to the amenity reserve fee policy that was originally passed in 2013, revised in 2016 and 2019. The revision that we're adding is that the member qualifying for an amenity reserve fee reduction and waiver must be a member in good standing according to the definition that's listed in the covenants and restrictions. This policy will be published on the website, available for comments, and we'll report back at the next board on any comments that we've received. A second policy that we're putting forth is an initiative to help reduce the inventory of lots that we hold, and we have about 2,500 lots. Of that, approximately 299 are A-tier lots. This policy impacts A-tier lots. Those are buildable lots with roads and sewers. What this is directed at is offering a refund of purchase proceeds for A-tier lots owned by the club, purchased by veterans who build a home within 3 years of purchasing that lot. And in order to be eligible for that, the veteran must have been honorably discharged from service. They can also enter into a sales agreement with a builder who's purchased a club-owned A-tier lot and claim that lot price by applying for refund of the purchase proceeds. And that policy will also be published on the website and available for comment.
Okay.
That's great. What? Oh, I wanted to say, thank Mary Kay, for all of the work that she's done on this. And we'll be going through a whole slew of these policies, and we'll keep everybody updated as they become available. Thank you.
What we're trying to do here, this is a planned kind of activity. We have a number of policies that have been practices. We're trying to get all of those documented in writing And then we're also, I've been working with Bill, and Jason will be a big part of this as well, is then have operating procedures that implement those policies in writing. And we've been a little bit lax in that in the past, but MK, I know, she stepped up forward and said this is something that she would like to get involved in, and we've been glad to have her. But the point is that we've got a lot of this stuff that we're trying to document so that people actually, if there's a question, that most of the questions will be answered in the policy or the procedure, as opposed to just talking about it and trying to figure out what the best thing to do. So you're going to hear more of these as we go down the road. All right? But thank you. All right? Anything else? Hearing nothing else?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming. And water.